There we go. This is a video I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I've been delaying it because Bach is such a big figure in music. How do you tackle this all in one video? I really can't tackle this all in one video, but what I can do is relate some of my experience of practicing Bach for the past 6 years. I'm going to start with the story. Back in 2019, I auditioned to become an accompanist for a school district. And though I didn't get a job in preparation leading up to that job, I practiced a prelude and fugue every single day on the piano. And little did I know that would be a journey that I would start for the rest of my life. I've been doing it for the past 6 years. I use a prelude and fugue as my warm-up. And I want to show you some of the discoveries that I have found along the way and how it can be applied towards your jazz piano playing. So let's get started. A couple of side notes before we do get started. Number one is this is not covering the historical aspect of Bach. There's a lot of other videos out there that do a way better job than I do. This is specifically focusing on the harmonic and melodic elements of Bach. This is obviously geared towards more advanced piano players, but if you're a beginner and you have enough skill, practice Bach early on in your musical journey. You won't regret it. Don't use the pedal. Historically, the pedal wasn't used. I highly encourage you to use get a book that has proper fingering in it and go through those fingering suggestions. And when you do add the pedal, it's an absolute game changer whenever you start applying this stuff over to jazz, where the pedal is appropriate. No pedal for now, and practice slowly. We're going to cover 3 topics in this video. The 3 topics are pedal points and the inversion of chords, melodic counterpoint and fingering, and finally absorbing the language of Bach. Those 3 topics. Let's get to the first one. Melodic counterpoint, inner lines, I guess we'll call it. The little intersecting lines that you can play whenever you're improvising. This comes from Prelude number 11 from book number 2. I like this piece because for me it's a clear example of how so much counterpoint can create the harmonic aspect of a piece, which for us as jazz players, we're used to playing chord and a single melody, whereas we could do we can do tons of cool stuff. So Prelude 11 book 2, I'm going to play the example in full and then I'm going to break it down kind of in a jazz style. So that's the example played in full. Very beautiful, long pieces where you have long harmonic counterpoint, and that fills in the harmony. I'm going to take measures 5 and 6, and then what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to do jazz chords in the left hand and keep the right hand, jump it up an octave. And you can see the chord changes above. So really not that far off from playing jazz if you keep pretty strict with both, at least with your right hand, and then with your left hand you're kind of doing jazz chords behind that, because that's essentially what he's doing, outlining these chord tones, these chord tones, and he's also outlining like the key parts of the chord that need to ring, the root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, whatever. What I'm going to do now is do jazz in both hands, taking all that melodic material but just adding in jazz material to it. And I'm going to use the pedal. really, when you start adding in jazz, it becomes a whole nother thing. So adding in counterpoint is one key thing that has really helped me with Bach. This is why it's really important to use the proper fingering, because when you add in the pedal, to go from measures 5 and 6, and do that with all of the legatos and the slurs and whatnot, and then adding in the pedal with all those jazz chords. Or whatever, you know. Let's take this and let's apply it over a jazz piece. Let's take it and put it over Autumn Leaves. Okay, so I'm going to take that conceptual idea of counterpoint, creating the harmony. So in true Bach fashion, we end in a Picardy third. Let's move on to the second chapter, which is the absorption of language. Absorbing the language of Bach. This has been a 6-year journey for me. This has slowly trickled into my playing and into my system, so to speak. Think of it as a very slow, meticulous process. So how do we accomplish this process? We take little bits of ideas from Bach and we apply it to our playing, add it to our bag of tricks. Very much how we would learn that lick or those are all little bits and pieces of information. So we're gonna take that from Bach right now. This is from Fugue number 12 in book 2 as well. This is specifically one measure. Here is the measure, measure 54. So let's take that and we're gonna play, let me first play it for you. Just that much. We got a melody line. We got a bass line, and then we got a counterpoint line. A lot of these subjects are going to overlap, so we have some counterpoint there as well, even though this is talking about the absorption of language. So this I'm going to apply over body and soul, just that one little measure, and it fits very nicely over the part. Did you hear it right there? just that little bit, even though that seems really hard to do, you start at a very simple level and you get little bits of information. Absorb his language little by little. The last subject is my absolute favorite, and that is pedal tones and inversions of chords. Pedal tones and inversions of chords. If Bach is a very counterpoint kind of person, just to understate it, naturally you're going to use chords that are rootless, they're inverted, there's no root on the bottom, or you're gonna have a pedal tone and put chords and stack them on top. This is a very common composer-like thing. Bach does it very well. Let's check it out. This is from Prelude and Fugue number 12, and I believe this is book 1. Correct me if I'm wrong, but let me first play the example in full, and then get my book in order. We will see what we're gonna do with this information. And so forth from there. So this piece, check out the very first top line here. We have F minor, C7 over F, another F minor, another F minor, basically G7 half diminished over a F, C7 flat 9 over F. All of that material while pedaling over this F note. So much easier with the pedal. Let's do a couple of, maybe a jazz variation of this, right? So thinking about this application of all of these chords. And Bach is taking all these and he's putting these different chords and shapes and even keeping melodic material intact. It's absolutely amazing to see this and to hear it, and it feels amazing to play. Let's, as far as a jazz application, how do we do this? I'm gonna take the example of Lush Life. I love Lush Life because this intro in the beginning right here, get my notes in order. This intro in the beginning is absolutely just gorgeous. Gorgeous. So that intro, you take those chords D flats to C flat 7, D flat to C flat 7. Let's pedal tone it, or let's start off with the inversions of those chords. So instead of starting off on D flat 6, I'm going to do D flat over F, C flat over E flat. Change the type of chord, and even go up in the inversion. C flat over G flat, and then this little walk up, D flat. You can do the inversions of those chords. And if you pedal tone this, very cool techniques that you can do. So take your songs and apply pedal tones and fit chords over them. And also all those voicings, think of them as rootless voicing. Bach does, he does all these chords in these different configurations and patterns. It only bleeds into your playing as a musician. So what do we do with all this information? I'll tell you. So what do we do? What do we do, Obi? What do we do? I think Hopi says we gotta practice. That's the most important thing, is you have to practice this material. I had a teacher tell me a long time ago, time on task. How much time are you spending on these tasks? That's why I chose a prelude and fugue every single day to practice. Put it on a timeline of actually learning a new language. How long does it take to learn a new language? Pretty long time. So put it on that timeline and be very patient with yourself. And you don't want to overwhelm yourself, because then you become frustrated, and there is fun in doing this. After a while, it becomes pretty fun that you start unlocking new patterns and whatnot. Here's some of my recommendations. I want you to practice a prelude and fugue every single day. I want you to practice scales in different directions and in different patterns, not just going up, but come back down. Practice improvising using techniques you pick up from Bach, right? So one finger holds down while the other fingers play. Pedal tones over standards. Take a standard and just put one note over it and see how many chords you can stack on top. Other than that, the most important part of all of this is that you practice it. You spend time every single day. Isn't that right, Hobie? Isn't that right, buddy? Isn't that right?